Terraria has a lot of items. Over 5,400 after the 1.4.5 update. Some of them you're going to use in every single playthrough. But others, what the f*** is this? That's the ghastly glaive, by the way. But are any of these unknown items actually good to use? Spoiler alert, yes. Some of the absolute gem finds I found while making this video are crazy. But before we start, please subscribe. I'm begging you. Now this first item that I'm going to mention, you can get straight at the start of your playthrough. It's a quick upgrade to a weapon that's usually known for being absolute dog shit, which is justifiable because, well, it is. But that does not take away from the upgrade actually being really good. So then, what is this weapon? Its name is the Wand of Frosting. I promise you, bro, you just gotta hear me out on this one. So how do you get the Wand of Frosting? That's a great question, my friend. Go head over to a forest chest and get the Wand of Sparking. Then get 99 ice torches. And boom, you got it. After crafting it, obviously, but that's pretty self-explanatory. So what makes this weapon so good? I mean, it only has a base damage of 15 and its projectile is very slow. Well, that comes with the debuff it inflicts. Frostburn. So basically, Frostburn just adds another 8 DPS onto the weapon, making it really good for your first boss. Whilst, yes, the Diamond Staff is still technically better, I don't care, bro. You can literally get this within 30 seconds of spawning in. So now we're about to challenge the Eye of Cthulhu. What weapon should we use? Now a super underrated pick that I never see anyone use is the Thorn Chakram. Now this weapon isn't the niche-ish thing ever, but it really does shine against the Eye of Cthulhu and the King Slime. You can get this weapon by crafting it an iron or lead anvil with 6 jungle spores and 9 stingers. Whilst this weapon may seem very boring at first, it does 25 base melee damage, which is more than the Trimarang, by the way, and it inflicts poison. Whilst this poison may seem very insignificant at first, with it only dealing 2 DPS to players, it actually deals 6 DPS to mobs. So the poison isn't as good as the Frostburn, but the weapon itself is obviously better. Another fun fact about this weapon is it was used in real life in India. According to the wiki, they used to throw it at their enemies, but it wouldn't really come back like it does in Terraria. Anyways, that's pretty cool. On to the next weapon. Yeah, I kinda had a scan on the wiki and there's no really good weapons that aren't just straight ass. So now we've beat the Wall of Flesh and we're in hard mode, we need to set our sights on Queen Slime and the mech bosses. And out of those 4 bosses, 3 of them need single target damage for a good DPS. So what's a relatively unknown weapon that deals really good single target DPS? That would be the Bananarang. In my personal experience, I have not seen anybody use the Bananarang before for the mech bosses. They normally divert straight to the light disc after beating the destroyer, or they just use the Shadow Flame knife. So what's the gimmick about this Bananarang? It seems like a pretty boring, run-of-the-mill boomerang. Well, at first you might look at its 45 base damage and just think it's a terrible weapon, but you can actually have 10 of them at once. In my testing against Skeletron Prime and the twins, they have been a really good alternative. And honestly, they mostly beat out the Amarok and Ice Scythe, which is what most YouTube guides recommend for this stage of the game. So honestly, I would really recommend using this weapon, because in my opinion, this is the worst stage of the game for melee. So with all 3 mech bosses down, what do you use now? Well, beating those mech bosses gave you access to Chlorophyte bars, which will be really important for this next weapon. But before doing that, you'll want to head down to a spider cave and get the poison staff. But you might be thinking, Jazer, this is straight ass. Well, yeah, it is, because it's not the weapon we'll be using. You see how it's a material? So now here's where you go get the Chlorophyte. Get 14 bars of it, and after that, go head over to your Mithril or Orichalcum Anvil and make the Venom Staff. Now this is the weapon we'll be using. Now before you go looking at that 44 base damage thinking, oh no, this weapon's terrible, don't be discouraged. It shoots 4 to 7 projectiles that all pierce 4 enemies. And on top of all of this, it inflicts the Acid Venom debuff, which is a free 15 DPS. Now when this weapon really shines is when Plantera enters its second form. All those tentacles she grows are no match to the Venom Staff's widespread projectiles and piercing. Unfortunately, however, the piercing does have a big downside, that being that the weapon loses 25% of its current damage for every mob pierced. Don't let that discourage you, however, this weapon is still a beast for its stage of the game. Now before we move on to pre-golem, because there are a lot of items to choose from, I would like to mention these two subclasses because they do not get the love they deserve. The first being yo-yos. Now I can't really mention one yo-yo on its own because they are pretty similar. I do think yo-yos are really underrated and you should honestly use one in your next playthrough. And the second subclass being jousting lancers. Again, I can't out one on its own because they're pretty similar, but some of the setups you can use to one-shot bosses with these are crazy. Now, Post-Golem was really close, but I'm gonna choose the Starlight. Yes, I know you have to beat the Empress of Light probably more than once because you're not lucky, but who cares? This weapon is so good and you need to use it. The main drawback that takes people away from the Starlight is how close you have to get to the enemy to actually deal DPS. But with any decent tank setup or just being good at the game, you will be fine. With a base damage of 80 and being able to hit enemies 15 times per second, that is some good DPS. Especially against Golem, which is a really slow moving boss and honestly probably one of the easiest in the game. You will shred him so much with this weapon. Another neat thing about it is it actually has a 14% crit chance, unlike most weapons that only have 4%. So overall, this weapon is just really good and I really recommend using it. So now, we fight the Moon Lord. Since there isn't any really good picks that aren't just available pre-Golem anyway, I have a really creative pick that I thought of. You know the old one's army and how nobody ever does it? Well, after Golem, Betsy's unlocked, and trust me, you should be killing her. Why, you may ask? Well, she's got a variety of good items that she drops, but the main standout for me is Betsy's Wrath. At first glance, this weapon just looks like any old staff, just like the Venom staff, but deep down, it has some scary secrets. Well, not really deep down because it's in the fucking tooltip, but like, whatever. Well, the deep secret that I've been talking about is Betsy's Curse. This is the debuff it inflicts. 40 armor penetration? That is actually crazy, I can't even lie. You know what's even crazier? You don't have to use this weapon as your main. You can use this weapon, then a better one on top of it. Overall, this weapon is just a better version of the Golden Shower. And the only thing stopping you from getting it is beating Betsy. And good luck on that one, I guess. And finally, Post-Moon Lord. Yeah, what the f*** am I supposed to do for that? The Zenith, obviously.